Right Honourable Prime Minister, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Ministers of the Crown, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Members, distinguished guests. On behalf of the members of the New Zealand Parliament, I welcome the Honourable Julia Gillard, Prime Minister of Australia. I'm sure members would wish that Prime Minister Gillard be welcomed. Honourable Prime Minister, your address today represents a significant occasion in our history. You are the first leader of a foreign state to address members in this debating chamber. Prime Minister, it gives me great pleasure to invite you to make your address.
Thank you very much. Mr Speaker, Prime Minister and members of the Cabinet, Leader of the Opposition and party leaders, honourable members one and all. It's truly a great privilege to be the first Australian Prime Minister, indeed the first foreign head of government, to address members of the Parliament of New Zealand. I accept your welcome to this historic chamber as a profound tribute to the friendship between our nations and our people. I also acknowledge it has been some time since a full bilateral visit by an Australian Prime Minister, and I'm glad to be here and to be able to put that right. But more than that, I don't want familiarity to slide into forgetfulness. I therefore announce that Mr Key and I have agreed to restore the pattern of regular prime ministerial exchanges that we have had in the past. I look forward to hosting prime ministerial talks in Australia next year, and I look forward to coming back to New Zealand myself in 2013. Mr Speaker, it's a great honour to address members of the Parliament and through it the people you represent. Yours is one of the oldest continuous democratic legislatures in the world, the first to recognise the right of women to vote, a leader in reconciliation with its First Peoples, among the first parliaments to respond to the challenge of climate change by putting a price on carbon. New Zealand may be a small nation, but one with a bold vision of its place in the world. For Australia, New Zealand is the natural partner in all that we believe in and all that we hope for. As I look round this historic house, the plaques and wreaths commemorating battles from the Boer War to Vietnam are snapshots of the shared and lasting bonds between our two nations. Our ties were indelibly forged in hardship and mateship, from Gallipoli and the Somme to Tobruk, Korea and beyond. Our soldiers, as has been said, come from the uttermost ends of the earth. And wherever Australian and New Zealand blood has been shed, it remains sacred ground. Sacred because when our young men were sent to far shores, they went not for wealth or gain, but to defend common values and a treasured way of life, the freedom to speak and to pray and to write, the freedom to elect leaders and stand safe under the rule of law, the freedom to succeed that drew men like Peter Fraser and Keith Holyoake from the most modest background to the highest office. These are what ANZAC means, a story of courage and conviction told and retold in homes and in schools, in the pubs and clubs, throughout the length and breadth of both lands. A story also infused by the freedom from deference and formality that makes Australians and New Zealanders so different from anyone else, but so much like each other. The ANZAC legend is not confined to records or to books. It is a living story, a story that lives in the courage of Willie Appiata, Mark Donaldson and Ben Roberts-Smith. The ANZAC spirit will receive a practical expression from next month when our personnel join together in the new Ready Response Force headquarters to be based in Brisbane. This force will provide a robust capability to meet contingencies, including humanitarian assistance and disaster relief across the region we love so much. And of course, the ANZAC spirit lives on in the most strategically challenging theatre of our times, Afghanistan. Again, a conflict against those terrorists who threaten our cherished way of life and against whom we must prevail. Today I stand before this Parliament and pay tribute to the men and women of our armed forces. The road is hard and the price can be very high. Just 2 days ago, I attended the funeral of Corporal Richard Atkinson, the 22nd Australian soldier to be killed in Afghanistan. I embraced his family and felt deeply their immeasurable grief. New Zealand has not been spared this anguish, not in the past with the death of Lieutenant Tim O'Donnell, the first member of the New Zealand Defence Force to fall in Afghanistan, and not today with the terrible news of another sad loss of a New Zealand life, the death of Private Mila. We grieve for these men and their families as we grieve for our own. Because the ANZAC story speaks for both our nations, an imperishable Trans-Tasman bond. They can never be replaced, our fallen, but they shall never be forgotten. Mr. Speaker, in the 1890s, there was a possibility that New Zealand and Australia might formally have joined their destinies to each other. A relic of that aspiration even remains in our Constitution to this day. But, Mr. Speaker, it was never necessary. Our founders could not have imagined the extraordinary events that would bring our nations far closer than any words or any laws, not forged in meeting rooms by old men wearing suits, but by young men in trenches wearing slouch hats and lemon squeezes. That's why I say Australia has many alliances and friendships around the world, economic and defence partnerships of every kind. But New Zealand alone is family. When those 29 men never came home from the Pike River mine, we didn't just mourn for the loss of the 2 Australians, we mourned for them all. Family, we mourned for them all. When Pike River exploded, New Zealand didn't have to ask Australia to send help, we just did. And when natural disasters hit Australia this summer, New Zealand didn't need to be asked to lend a hand, you just did. And our gratitude to you for this in our time of hardship is boundless. Prime Minister, your predecessor, Sir John Hall, said that there were 1,200 reasons that separated Australia and New Zealand, the 1,200 miles of the Tasman Sea. The Australia-New Zealand Memorial in Canberra tells a very different story. It's a sculpture unlike any of the other memorials that enshrine my nation's capital. It is a simple, graceful curve of bronze representing the handle of a basket used traditionally to collect flaxseed. It embodies the Maori saying that we each hold one handle of the basket. Shared effort, shared memory, shared sacrifice. Underneath that memorial is etched a poem by the New Zealand poet Jenny Bornholt. In it, she describes the Tasman not as a barrier, but as a bridge of faith. A faith anchored and bonded in the past, but also a faith directed resolutely towards the future. Mr. Speaker, it is true that we have done great things in the past, remarkable things, not just in war, but in peace as well. We took sheltered insular economies and opened them up to the world through the remarkable reforms of the 1980s and 90s. At the same time, we opened our economies to each other, creating a degree of integration that is unparalleled throughout the world. It was the first bilateral trade agreement of its kind anywhere in the world. It remains the gold standard in trade liberalisation. It was not an easy decision, as Robert Muldoon and Malcolm Fraser grappled with the realities of a fast-changing world. But the agreement was achieved and has served us well. There was another author of CER who deserves our acknowledgement, a great New Zealand diplomat and politician, Hugh Templeton. It will be my very special honour this afternoon to invest him with an Honorary Order of Australia for his pivotal role in establishing CER. Hugh Templeton's career is the story of modern New Zealand. He went to London as a junior diplomat in 1954, representing a nation that, like Australia, relied on primary production, sheltered behind tariff walls and called Great Britain home. But in the 70s and 80s, as they unfolded, Hugh and his fellow leaders on both sides of the Tasman and both sides of politics knew it was time for change. Britain had joined with Europe. Asia's economic miracle was unfolding. We could not afford to be left behind, and we were not. Our leaders found the courage to change, and those changes were hard, perhaps even harder on New Zealand than on Australia. But those decisions were right then, and they remain right now. CER has been an enduring foundation for new ventures, such as the Trans-Tasman Mutual Recognition Arrangement and the Single Economic Market Initiative. Thanks to these agreements, our nations are closer than ever before. Goods and services flow freely. Our insolvency and copyright laws have been harmonised, along with competition and financial services policy. Our citizens can work in their chosen profession in each country, thanks to mutual recognition. Students in each country pay only domestic fees for their education. Reforms unprecedented in their scope and ambition. Reforms that are hard, but reforms that have worked. Two-way goods trade between our two countries has grown at 8% a year since CER. Trans-Tasman trade is worth around 21 billion Australian dollars or 27 billion New Zealand dollars a year. More Australian businesses export to New Zealand than to any other country. And New Zealand's top export market is Australia. Now it's time to write the next chapter as we journey towards a single economic market. During my visit, I've been pleased to discuss with Prime Minister Key the excellent progress being achieved on the SmartGate project to create borderless travel between our two countries. A joint study will commence this month to examine how we can create a truly domestic-like aviation experience. In addition, Mr Speaker, Prime Minister Key and I will today sign the investment protocol to CER, a significant milestone for our two countries. The protocol will make investment simpler and cheaper, creating employment and opportunity on both sides of the Tasman. For New Zealand, this agreement provides the most liberalised access to the Australian investment market. For Australia, it makes CER our most liberal and comprehensive trade agreement. But as family, that is how it should be. But friends, the bridge of faith extends not just to the past, not just to today, but into the future. Today, the world changes in a decade more than it used to change in a century, and we must deepen our resolve to